and to see this as some kind of anomaly. You know, something that happened to the Western world who is rational, humanistic, and so on. This opposition was given between communism and fascism. Then saying communism is a totalitarian system, and the whole, so-to-call process went in this direction to really talk about totalitarian and fascist opposition. So this, I think, this opposition is already, was historically produced and has a very, so-to-call, important role. I think, historically looking, communism and fascism cannot be put on the same, so-to-call, point. Because, and I hope that you don't think in such a way, because just going back to theory, just going back to French theory, let's say being a Badiou, in a way of thinking, fascism was a pure, so-to-call, a project of death. It was nothing there, just a pure extermination, nothing, it was no one, single, 1%, if we take about 100%, doesn't exist. Nothing was there, nothing. Only extermination, completely mutilation of everything what could be taken of life. So this is first, and second, communism was the opposite. Communism had a project, has a certain vision. How the things went, it's a question of analysis. Putting them together is, from my point of view, impossible, but is actually possible onto the idea of this depolitization. Trying not also to think, as I said, the consequences of colonialism and capitalism. Nazism really being the outcome of this. This is one thing. And the second, I think after the fall of the Berlin Wall, practically in the last 20 years, it was no one project that allowed to the former Eastern Europeans to really go back and to contextualize what meant actually East and West. What was the period of the Cold War and the post-Cold War in which we are? What are actually, what this whole historization was about? In this way, I think today communism is just a playground for Western theoreticians, because there they can talk about the infinity, while 20 years practically nobody was asked from the Eastern European context to try to think, because, as was said very precisely, Germany in one way succeeded to really block, because of this very speed up consolidation, to think about any kind of politics, any kind of the social space of former Eastern Europe, until the point of such idiocy that today, as we talk about former Eastern Europe, the Westerners talk about former Western Europe. And because of this, I think it's already evacuated, the term is taken, so it's necessary another rethinking or another, so to call, a process of theoretical, social process of thinking for a new possibility. This is what I would say. But what is at the present moment is actually completely an evacuated term. It is just a playground for conferences.
I think Slavoj Žižek from Slovenia, he offers an alternative communism. Egalitarian.
Yes, speak loudly.
Slavoj Žižek from Slovenia, a philosopher, offers communism as an alternative for us today with egalitarian justice, because I agree that there is a big threat of we end up in fascism or another horrors, and it's because that the society is depoliticized, that there is no alternative. The communism is not taken as an alternative, So, and people are seeking for a way out from this misery, and fascism is a real alternative. So the people, it's understandable that the people takes what is real, what is an alternative.
This is your words.
No, I think so. Yes.
Yes, this is what I'm saying.
And that communism is not an alternative. You say, and other people say to all the people.
No, I didn't say, it's not a question, just simply to be very clear to the point. Communism in the way how today is actually so-called taken and how is replayed in the theoretical field. In the way how it's done, practically is not an alternative but is a playground for in the theoretical ground, in the way how who is actually so-called has the privilege to talk about communism, who is part of big symposia, who is actually part of discussions. This communism, such a communism, I think is not an alternative, but is an alternative for those who can make money and who can make a career on this term. The communism as an analysis of what, going also back to Marxist analysis, theoretical, historical analysis is another thing. So I just want to be very clear about this division. Who is uttering is not a problem for Slavoj Žižek or all the others who are part of this big, so-called caravan of communist theoreticians going around and just preaching from city to city. This is the way how they make money and they make their living. But I talk about this division of term and the division of the possibility to really rethink and contextualize. This is another story.
Economically spoken, to my mind, communism was the attempt to modernize by force, to catch up. We all know the Lenin saying, Soviet power and electricity. That's about what communist has as aim. And this did work, interrupted by World War II and by the cruelties of the Nazis till the middle of the 70s. And now the modernization is no more somehow done by delinking concepts, but by subordination or by peripheralization of people and of regions. So that's what comes in mind to me when I speak about communism for now. But let me answer also another question, or continue with what you, Mirina, said when you meant Europe is dead. I mean, in a way I can agree concerning European Union, for at least, because the whole concept is, to my mind, impossible. We have economic convergence and the social and regional divergence, and that is the conflict the European Union is in. Economic convergence means free movement, as I said, of capital, services, workforce, and commodities. And social conversion means, social conversion would mean that we would have a social similar situation, but we have a total different situation. We have a social divergence. Every state, every nation makes its own social politics or no social politics. There's no tax regime for the European Union. So that is the whole failure of the whole construction of this European Union. But it's not a failure, it's made because the leaders and the capital behind them want to do it. But what will we face in the future? And now I'm coming to Wallerstein with his small little and utopistics, where he said it's not only Europe which is dead to his mind, but it's capitalist system which is going to end, at least when we think of capitalism as something with a human face. The other alternative is fascism, which goes very well together with capitalism as we know by history. And so the outcome can be two different alternatives. A fundamentalist, more and more fundamentalist society, let's say a religious fundamentalist or right-wing fundamentalist or whatever, or an emancipatory process. And Wallerstein always tries to tell his pupils that they have to fight for the second version. Yeah? Good.
To Hannes, just a few, two notes. How much more could be done to your paper, saying you, which I consider very much manipulative. And the two notes I'm going to present are kind of examples of how this manipulation is done. The first one is about the chapter expansion as planned, when you point out three factors for the expansion of the European Union.
For the expansion of European Union, okay.
Brussels. The first one is territorial instability, and to make it nice, you are counting three states: Estonia, Lithuania, and what is
Latvia.
Latvia, as states which as examples of the territorial instability, not reflecting the fact that those states were originally in the individual states and just under Stalin were somehow incorporated to Soviet Union. So then you would have just two, Czech and Slovakia. And Czech and Slovakia, I wouldn't consider as some territorial instability. It was just a normal political division. So this is one point. The second point concerns hyperinflation and shock therapy. When you say that the inflation was a directed process by IMF and World Bank to expropriate citizens and to make path for foreign capital because of the conversion of the currency conversion between Czechoslovakia and let's say German mark. I think the main reason why the inflation happened after '89 was not making a path for the future events, economical or political, but it was a consequence of the economical fiasco and failure of communist regime in Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia being before Second World War, 12th country in the world, 12th richest country in the world. In the '89 ended up as, I think, 76. So generally speaking, what you present as a source of some process, I understand as a consequence of some historical process, and I don't think this is well. I consider your position unplausible, let's say.